Hello. Thank you for having me here today. Before I get started, I want to kind of go through a thought exercise, if you will. So I want everyone to imagine that you're 15 years old. I promise I won't keep you here very long. And you get an opportunity to be a rock star for one night. You can this is your dream. You can be anything you want. You can be leading the band. You can be ripping off riffs and being the lead guitarist. Doesn't matter. Think about the thrill. Okay, maybe music isn't your thing. Maybe you think having an experience like Saturday Night Live would rock your world. Or maybe you're a dancer. Maybe you get the opportunity to dance alongside professionals in a MTV-style video on stage. Well, I'm going to talk about that and how it relates to STEM. As Diana said, my name is Stacie Boord. I'm with ShadowBox Live. For those that are not familiar with ShadowBox Live, it is a nonprofit organization that I helped start about 22 years ago. So yes, do the math. I was an entrepreneur prodigy. I started it when I was 8 years old. We are a repertory company that do actually a variety of different theatrical offerings. We offer 4 different shows at one time. We have a lunch show, we have our big show, which is sketch comedy and rock and roll series, and we also have another show, which is theater and music. Those performances total 11 per week, and we operate 52 weeks a year. We employ 55 full-time artists, which makes us the largest resident theater company in America. Booyah. So you might be asking yourself, okay, what does this rock singer, actress, why is she speaking at a STEM conference? And 4 years ago, I wouldn't have been. But since then, as Diana said, I came up with this program called, started as Metro Rocks the Box, and we've expanded it to STEM Rocks the Box. Basically, it's an experience where these students get an opportunity to learn what it's like to be a professional performing artist. So I'm going to give you a Cliff Notes version of how it goes. So I go into the school and I give a presentation on what it's about. We have kids sign up. There are about 60 kids, anywhere from 40 to 60 kids that usually sign up, and they're able to audition in 2 disciplines. And the disciplines that they can audition are band, singing, dancing, acting, lights, sound, and backstage. So from there, we hold an audition, and we make our selections. And we usually select about 25, 27 kids. From there, the Cliff Notes version is each of these kids in the performing disciplines get 3 30-minute individual sessions with their discipline's instructor. And the thing is, it's not a talent show. They're not doing a show together. They're doing a show alongside of us. So they're working right alongside with us, and we're teaching them what it's going to be, and they are literally putting on a show. There is no substandard because they're kids. I don't lower the standards because of that. I don't get them off the hook because I know they have homework, nothing like that. We are very, very clear in our expectations and what it is that they need to do to achieve success. And that's what it's all about, setting them up for success. From there, the show is always on a Monday. So on Sunday, they come in and they do a big sound check. So everyone that's involved in the music, whether it's dance, singing, acting, or whatever, we do a sound check. We costume them, we put makeup on them, we've got lights, we've got the whole 9 yards. We're teaching them how to use a microphone and everything. And this is like rock and roll, you know, we're not singing like nursery rhymes or anything like that. So, so we get through that process. Then on Monday, the day of the show, they come in at 8 in the morning. We have a big general meeting on how the day is going to go, and then we start to tech the show, which means a very, very slow process. Okay, the first thing up is this song. Okay, you're gonna enter from here. Now I need you to leave. Now we gotta go to a comedy sketch. Okay, lights up here. And we're working through that very, very slowly, and it's a very painful process. It probably takes a good 5 hours to get through that. We break for lunch, and then we do a run through. It gives them an idea of what it's like to be actually doing the show. Then after that, we get notes. And then the doors open, and they are out there ushering people to the tables. And this is a paying audience. And for the most part, we pretty much sell out the entire night. So that it is packed, and the energy is off the hook. They do the show, and it is just an absolute remarkable experience to watch these kids, the transformation that happens. just in the fact that they had the courage to do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you a video of what we show the kids when we are presenting this opportunity and allowing them to participate in this. So let's go ahead. Morgan.
ShadowBox Live is an ensemble of singers, dancers, musicians, and actors who produce over 400 performances a year.
Bloody fingers on a purple night. Flamingo drinking from a cocktail glass. I'm on the lawn with someone else's wife. Coming by the view from up on top of the map.
Hello? Darth, I know that's you. I can hear you breathing.
The past 2 years, ShadowBox Live has implemented a program that featured high school students performing alongside ShadowBox professionals in sketch comedy and rock and roll shows.
You remind me of myself when I used to be real stupid.
The productions were so successful with the school and the community that this year, ShadowBox Live is expanding the program to highlight students from 2 STEM schools. Once again, we're looking for students with the courage to strut their talents in a professional performing arts environment on May 16th with STEM Rocks the Box.
That kind of gives you an idea, and that really is the energy and the fast pace of the show with these kids. So here we are, and you're saying, okay, so we've got me working with these STEM students, and now I have a lot to say. I've learned a lot through this process. And that's where I came up with expanding the mind through creativity. That's my other slide. There we go. Exactly. With this, these kids are able to accomplish so much. And you know, when I think about the expanding the mind through creativity, it like literally gives me butterflies. I think of the possibilities. And you think about all the things that we have yet to create and all the things we have yet to experience and how amazing that is. And then you think about the technology just as a barometer of what we've just even discovered within the last 10 years. Albert Einstein, probably one of the greatest scientists of his time, and yet I would argue that probably the biggest gift was his imagination. I think back of what his quality of life was back then and his ability to dream this idea of what was possible, something that was so unbelievably removed from his experience at that time. And that to me is just absolutely mind-boggling. He was able to see a hidden truth that none of us saw. And that's what artists do. Artists look at something that we all look at, and they see a hidden truth and they reveal it to us. The ability to dream, the ability to believe, and the ability to actualize. To me, that's great science, but that is also great art. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now. To dream, to believe, and to actualize. So to dream. Okay, how do you teach these students to dream? What's a great way to do that? Play a character. Play something that is completely removed from your own experience. I got a 15-year-old kid that's cast as an 80-year-old woman. What does this 15-year-old know about being an 80-year-old woman? Absolutely nothing. Nada. Okay, so what do we do with that? How do we start with that? They observe, right? They observe older people. How do they move? Do they move slowly? If so, why? Then we make them take a next step, okay? So they're asking these questions, they're collecting data, they're collecting information. We say, I want you to become this. Okay, so move slowly. Okay, well, you know, it's just not translating to me of who you are, what you are. So let's go further. Why are you moving slowly? Are you in pain? Does it hurt to walk? Okay. Well, I know your hip doesn't hurt, but this woman has broken her hip 3 times. And every time she takes a step, it hurts. So what does that make you do? Does it make you limp? Does it make you use a cane and be all bent over? Do you possibly yelp every time you take a step on that foot? The possibilities are endless. But again, it's getting these kids to observe and use observation and information to inform them for their character choices. The exercise allows these kids to imagine the unimaginable. They realize that if I have A, if I do something to B, it's somehow going to result in C, just like it does in a mathematical equation. So again, there's that correlation. Okay, so we've taught these kids to dream. Let's talk about believing. It's believing, dreaming the approach that you're going to take, and then believing the approach is going to work, and furthermore, making sure that you're giving it 100% effort every single time that you follow this approach. And eventually, you'll probably get something right. For example, you got a song, and it's an awesome song, right? It is perfect for your voice, and there's just this one note that you can't get. One note. It's so close. So what do? Do you just not do the song? Or do you choose to do the song and decide, I'm going to problem solve that high note. I'm going to try to figure out what's going on and why I can't get it. So you go through the process, right? So you go, okay, well, maybe my placement is too low. So I'm going to use 100% effort, and I'm going to try to hit that note. Okay, I cracked. Bad idea. All right, that's not it. Let's try something else. Maybe I'm not initiating my breath correctly. Okay, so let's go through that song, and let's get our breath correctly. God, still did not quite nail it. Okay, let's try one more thing. Maybe it's not even that high note. Maybe it's the note before. So you start analyzing this and trying to figure that out. The key is that with each approach, when you're trying to problem solve, is that you're using 100% effort. So that effort almost becomes your constant, becomes your control group, so that you know what's working and what doesn't. Of course, then, there's always the chance that you could try all these variables and you still wouldn't hit the high note. In my case, I just say change the high note, but that's a whole different story. So I want to talk about a story about Bryn. Let me see the next slide here. Aw, look at our group. Okay, Bryn is right there in the middle, leaning off to the side, the really pretty girl with the long hair. Bryn was a very talented girl. Wonderful pianist, wonderful vocalist, great grades, wonderful disposition, just a real joy. So Bryn, I pick out this song for Bryn, and I am stoked because it is perfect for her voice, and I'm giving myself a pat on the back on this one, right? So I start working with her, and she's just like, she's not bringing it, And I'm like, Bryn, she would just keep stopping herself. I'm like, just sing the song so I can work with you and I can help you. And she'd get to it. She'd kind of get to a part that was a little difficult, and she'd stop and go, well, I'm not really sure, what you want me to do with it. I'm like, okay, kid, I can't help you unless you sing the song. Even if it's wrong, I just need you to do it. Why do you keep stopping yourself? I don't know. I'm like, you got to give me more than that. Why do you keep stopping yourself? You need to answer this question for me. And she blurts out, I don't want it to be wrong. Aha, you don't want it to be wrong. Well, I said, the problem is you're so concerned that it might be wrong that nothing's right. You can't do that. You got to just throw it out there. If it's wrong, I can help you. We'll know what's wrong, and then we'll fix it. But right now, I don't have enough information to get you where you want to go. Throw it out there. And she was like, and so we worked on it, and she really started adopting. I'm like, you're in a safe environment. It's just me. I didn't pay $100 to hear you. I'm here to help you. So come on, let's do it. And she did. And she started to really break out of the shell, and she understood that getting out of her comfort zone was a good thing. And I said, at the end of the lesson, I'm like, now, as a side note, you should adopt this as a way of life. And she laughed. It's like, I know. But so many of these kids are paralyzed by the fear of failure. And some of them they're so paralyzed that they don't even try. They don't even try to audition. Why? Because it's a lot easier to say, if I didn't try, if I don't get it, no big deal. And they're holding themselves back from so many opportunities. You know, what I say is if you're not failing 10% of the time, you're not working hard enough. Failure is information. It's all about the effort. It's all about the effort, and specifically in the arts. You know, it's really easy for us in our 30s, 40s, and 50s to know that. I mean, come on. As painful as it is, our greatest lessons are learned through our failures. That's just the nature of it. But think, if you could use the arts to teach the kids that at the age that they are, think of what they could accomplish. I mean, there's those sayings, you know, if you could try anything and not fail, what would you do? And it's true. You can use the arts. It's so liberating once you realize, you know, if I fail, the world is not going to end. It's going to be okay. And we can use that to pass that along to them. Failure is information. It's an indicator of what's not working. It gives us knowledge. Knowledge is power. And it also gives us one step closer to the actual solution. Okay, so we have taught these kids to dream, we've taught these kids to believe, but I actually think there's more on the believing side of things. And I think it's actually even a more important one. It's believing in themselves. The arts are so personal. I mean, you know, if you do an equation and it's wrong, it sucks, I know, but it's okay. You sing a song and someone doesn't like the way you sang that song, it is very difficult to differentiate that from not thinking that you don't like me and what I just did, because it's just me. It's me, my voice, that was it. You didn't like it. Ah! It hurts. But then you realize that it has to be about the journey. Arts is about the journey. Arts is all about the journey. It has to be. If you are in the arts because you care what critics think and you care what audience members think, you're in it for a world of hurt. Why? Because they're fickle. I mean, they're just people too. You know, you can't go through life looking at what everybody else is and making sure that they're okay with it. That's not to say that you don't listen to criticism. You do. It's information. But you certainly don't let that stop you, and certainly don't let that affect your self-worth. My goal as an artist is to be this much better today than I was yesterday. That's all I can do. And same with these kids. We've got to find that within ourselves. And imagine if these kids can actually truly adopt that self-confidence at this time, when they go out for that job interview and they don't get it, they're just going to go, well, that's the place I'm not supposed to work. Let's go on to number 2, number 3. They just keep plugging away because they realize that's what you have to do, one foot in front of the other. Think about this. If the scientists that were revolutionary listened to all the naysayers at their time, what kind of world would we have? Be a lot different. Okay, so now we're going to talk about actualizing. So we're dreaming, we're believing, now we're actualizing. And giving 100%, you're taking personal responsibility for your effort. You're doing everything that you can to lay a strong foundation for whatever it is that you're going to attempt. The arts teach personal responsibility. I mean, of course, all of us are going to agree that it's necessary to do the work up front to be successful in the end. Absolutely. And with the arts, without a strong foundation, and in this case it would be, let's say, knowing the material, knowing the lines to the script, knowing the song, you're going to blow it. It's just not going to happen. I mean, there's just so many variables that come into play. That's why it's very, very important that you have the strong foundation. This leads me to Karis. That's my next one. Here she is. She did a great job on this song. Okay, so Karis, very, very bright girl. Wonderful voice, completely untrained. I'm like, oh my God, it was like heaven to work with her. Just get to mold her, right? So she comes into her 3rd rehearsal, and I clearly define what you have to do by each rehearsal before you move on. Clearly define that. And her responsibility was to make sure that she learned her song inside and out, that she had the whole thing memorized. So she comes in, she's got her lyrics in her hand, and I'm like, okay, girl, you got everything memorized? We ready to go? We ready to work? No, I didn't get it memorized. I'm like, Okay, well, I told you had to have it memorized. Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, well, here's the deal. And I looked at the clock, and I'm like, you have 25 minutes to learn this song. Because the fact of the matter is, I know how to sing this song. I have this opportunity all the time. This is your opportunity. And let me tell you something. You don't know this song, you don't know what you're in for when you get up in front of a band. Have you ever worked with a microphone? It freaks you out the first time. Have you ever sang with a band? Do you know what it's like to have a bass amp just pumping away in your ear and you can't hear yourself sing? What about when you're standing up there with the lights? You got lights shining in your eyes. They're changing. You got gobos. You got strobe lights. You got dry ice. You're trying to focus. You can't close your eyes because that's not really appealing to an audience. Not to mention the costumes. I mean, you got me in something, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I don't look fat. Oh my God, right? I don't want to breathe. I mean, my stomach's going to expand. Heels. You're wearing heels that you've never worn before. I mean, all those variables come into play, and if you don't know your song, you're out the window. It's enough to shake you up if you know your song cold. I'm like, you can't do that. It's not an option. So we're going to learn this song right now and see how far we get. So we would take verse, then we'd go back, do the verse and the chorus. Go back and do the verse and the chorus, whatever. Within probably 12 minutes, she had that song memorized. She had actualized her foundation. So what did she learn? First of all, I can pretty much guarantee that she had 12 minutes of her life within that week to learn that song. It didn't take that long. She learned that it was the willingness to do the work, the belief that she could do the work, and also understanding the importance of the work. You know, without a strong foundation, it's really hard to rebound. I mean, life throws you curveballs. So what are you gonna do? You gonna stand there and get hit? Are you gonna adapt your swing? What do you got going on here? And with the arts, whew, I mean, that's the beauty of live performance, right? That's what everyone says. You never know what's gonna happen. So you're standing up there in a sketch, and somebody drops a line, and you're standing there looking at them, and you can see in their eyes they got nothing. They have no idea where they're supposed to go with the sketch. And your next line is, you know, all based off of their response. Do you know the sketch well enough that you can rebound? That you can just make something up and get you guys where you're supposed to go and finish out the sketch? Or you're just going to stand there and wait for the line that's never going to come? I have a story of when I was singing one time. I was doing Janet Jackson, What About? I don't know if you guys know the song. Great song. But it's a very emotional song. She's talking about kind of this abusive relationship and everything. And I'm up there singing. I don't know what happened, but I jumped to a verse that was later in the song. And I'm the queen of just making words up and everything. But the problem was, I was going down a path, and this verse is shorter than the other verses and was going to lead me to the bridge. And the band was going to go there, and then the song was going to be over in like 1 minute. I mean, it was just disaster. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? I'm just going to shut up and emote. And so I stood there and emoted for about 10 seconds while the band finished where they were going and then went to the chorus. And then I knew where I was, and then I jumped back in. And I remember I came off stage, and everyone's like, oh, my God, are you okay? I mean, that song really got to you. I'm like, no, man, I totally blanked. I didn't know where I was. So I was just like, just shut up, Stacie, emote, and get to the chorus. You'll be fine. But that's what it takes, right? You just got to go with it. I mean, you know, scientific experiments, you can't tell me that they go the way they're planned. So what are you going to do? You going to fudge the data to make it work what you thought was supposed to happen? Or are you going to shift gears? So with this, I'd like to talk about to dream, to actualize, and to believe. I say we open up our hearts and our minds to artistic sensibilities. It's such a global way of thinking and of attacking problems. It necessarily avoids linear process and allows for more creativity. And by doing so, we're going to better prepare our students to go back into the classroom and out into the world and prepared to do whatever it is that they want to do, whether it's math and science, arts, or their life's dream. Thank you.